about the book of Esther today. It's one of my very favorite books in the Bible. And it opens with the story of a king who banished his queen because she disobeyed an order that he made of her. And then the next scene cut to, he has a beauty contest to find his next queen. I'm pretty sure my husband thought that was a good idea. But basically, that's when we get to meet Esther. She's an unknown Jew, and she's actually keeping her nationality a secret because back then, it was really, really a disadvantage to be a Jew in this day and age. And so she's getting prepped for this beauty contest, and it's leading up for 12 months. And everyone who met her thought she was beautiful, well-behaved. It says she was well-admired. In fact, she was so well admired that the first time that the king actually saw her, he immediately crowned her his queen. And that's step one we're going to talk about today. That's be known. So then it cuts to, and there's a whole lot of backstory in Esther. If you haven't really studied it, I recommend it. But the right-hand man to the king talks him into signing a decree. And basically this decree says that 1 year from the signing, all Jews are to be completely eradicated on a single day. Now, obviously, Esther doesn't want this to happen because those are her people and just the injustice of that in general. So she wants this decree reversed, and she decides that she's going to go to the king and ask for that to happen. Now, two things. One, back in this day, if a king signed a decree, it could not be undone, even by the king himself. There was not a way to reverse a king's decree. And two, if you went to the king without being summoned, he could order your death. So she was taking a really big risk by trying to get this action taken that she wanted. So she goes to the king and he greets her because she's well loved and well admired. And he says, I'll give you anything that you want. So that's step two, be liked. Now, what Esther asks for is not for the decree to be reversed, which is surprising because that's what she wants. But sometimes we have to get people to know us, people to like us, people to trust us, for us to get the action that we're wanting out of them, right? And so what Esther says is, I'd like a banquet. The king says, absolutely. Who would you want to be there? She says, your most trusted advisor, which, if you remember, is the guy who wrote the decree that's going to destroy her people. The king says, absolutely. At the end of the banquet, he says, anything that you want, my queen, I will give to you. What can I give you? And she says, well, I'd like a second banquet. And he goes, absolutely. Who would you like to be there? I'd like the same people. So they have a second banquet. And at the end of the banquet, he says, my queen, what can I give for you? Anything that you ask. She says, there's somebody plotting against my people, and I want them stopped. And he says, your wish is my command. So the king willingly executed his right-hand man, his most trusted advisor, because it was the plotter against his beloved Queen Esther's people. And that is step three, to be trusted. The king trusted her so much, in fact, that he actually allowed her to write a new decree in her own words and allowed her to sign it as him. And again, a king's decree cannot be undone, even by the king himself. So the way that she worded this new decree was, we can't reverse this one, but this decree says that the Jews can defend themselves against anyone who means them harm. On any day, not just the single day of eradication. And so because Esther was diligent in the know, like, and trust process, she was able to save an entire generation. So the KLT process is literally biblical.
So as we fast forward to today, studies show that the attention span is only about 8.5 seconds. So, based on those numbers, half of y'all probably already stopped paying attention. So that's where we look at, when your contacts are reaching out to you, like are you being able to touch those touch points effectively, efficiently, before losing their attention? Because if we're not being diligent in when someone reaches out to you, your company, are you using systems and processes, are you using automations to be able to touch those touch points within that 8.25 seconds? Because if you're not, they're going to move on to the next person. And so if you're being diligent and using tools, then you're more likely to get those people, and they're less likely to keep on moving on. So, and then I had to use my cards. So whenever we're using these things, like this helps us to keep our integrity, to keep our authenticity with these clients when they're coming in, being able to, serve them to the best of our abilities by being able to get them the best quality, because as most of us know, if it's our business, like we offer the best quality. So that's where, using automations, tools to be able to have all those things in place as placeholders, so that way you don't drop the ball, kind of removes that human error out of that system. Because in Proverbs 10:4 says that a slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich.
I like that last word, rich. The Bible wants us to be rich, in case you weren't aware. So as business starters, it's really tempting to, when we start out, ask friends and family for support. And there's nothing wrong with that. But more times than not, they love us and they support us, but we probably didn't design our business for their needs, right? And so if we stay within our circle, all that we do is slow down our own progress. We've got to reach outside of that circle and learn how to handle those communications effectively if we ever want to be able to scale. And most of that time, and that starts by being known. Right? Because if people don't know who you are, how are they going to know the solution that you solve? How are they going to know what you can provide to them and how you can help them? And so to be known, you have to be seen. Well, most of the time, that starts online nowadays. So there are 3 different kinds of websites that you can create to be known. The first one is just a plain old website. Everybody knows what a website is. This is a really good place for people to get to know you because it's going to have a ton of information on it, right? You probably have a blog. You should have a mailing list where they can just put their email in. They also need a contact form where they can give you more information, like a name and a phone number. But there should be several different ways where they can opt into your communication. Now, a website can also be really distracting, though, because only 2% of your visitors are actually going to convert into a lead. So that means if 100 people are visiting your website, only 2 of them are actually going to say, please reach out to me. Right? So the second type of website that we have access to is called a landing page or a funnel. Those are kind of the 2 names that it's been given. This is similar to a website, but it's only one topic, and there's only one action. So that action could be to purchase. That action could be to fill out a form. That action could be to register for a webinar. But there is one topic and one action that you're wanting to take, a lot less distracting. That means roughly 5% of your visitors are going to convert. So already that's more than double what a website converts. And the third type of website is what's called a lead capture gateway. This one's super, super simple. It is one offer and a gamified form. Gamified form just means you're not starting with what's your name, number, and email. Gamified form is like what you just filled out when you scanned that QR code. See how we asked you a question first so you want to answer, and then you ask the second question that they want to answer, and then it ends with the name and the phone number and the contact details. So by the end of it, they're like, well, I want whatever, these questions intrigued me, I'm going to give my contact information. So lead capture gateways typically convert 10% of your visitors, which means if you're getting 100 people, you actually are receiving 10 leads per day. So these are 3 really effective places that you can have websites. And 2 Thessalonians 3:11 says we should be not busy bodies, but busy at work. And so by utilizing proper tools and the right technology in the right method, we're going to be able to produce more while not being busy. Because I know as business owners, sometimes it feels like if we're not busy, we're not working. And that's just not true when you're utilizing the right technology and the right tools in place. And by using those kinds of things, it's going to make our know process a lot easier, which is going to build a stronger like and trust phase.
So next we're going to talk about like the like phase, which is, how do you get clients to like you? How do you get people to see you? And leading off of that, how do you get people to, once they start seeing your content, how do you get those to then convert to get to like you and get to trust you? And so using platforms and knowing which platforms to use is kind of vital there, because some platforms don't want you to take eyes off of their platform. They want you and your content and your audience to stay on their platform. So being able as business owners to know like, what platforms do I use for what type of content is kind of vital, because some are made for selling and capturing leads and being able to sell your service and product, and some of them are not. So algorithms play a big part in that and what your audience is going to see. So if you're on a platform that's taking their attention off of them, the algorithms don't like that, Therefore, it's going to make you feel like, man, nothing's getting traction. My audience isn't engaging. What am I doing wrong? And so understanding as business owners, like, what am I putting out there? So then what platforms do I need to be using in order to get what I'm doing effective? And like, where do we do that? We do that through websites. We do that through blog posts. We can do that through email lists, and then all the different social media outlets. And by utilizing those, it kind of helps gear everybody towards, you being able to use polls, quizzes, in order to get to know, like, what do they like? What are they interested in? And then that helps you give them relevant content to be able to market to them, to be able to engage with them more on what a personal notice is. And you'll be able to then see, what am I doing that is effective? And doing it frequently is a big, big deal, because the more that you're staying in front of them, the more that you're in their face. And so the more that you're in their face, the more that when that time comes when they're ready to buy, when they're ready to reach out to somebody, they need help, you are that person, because they constantly see you. And it's not just necessarily about quantity, but quality matters. Are you putting out quality, or are you just constantly asking? Or are you putting out information? Here's how we can help. Here's just free information. Here's things for you to do. And so in Colossians 3:17, it says, whatever you do, do it fully.
One of the biggest overlooked foundational points of a business that we see on our side is trust, right? And how do you build trust as an entity? We all know how to build trust as an individual, but how do you build it as an entity itself? Now, Grant Cardone is a really great example of this. When you opt into his communication, he capitalizes on that request, right? When you register for a webinar with him, you're going to have a dozen emails or texts leading up to the event. After the event, he's going to engage again and ask for feedback. And you can pretty much bet that every other day you're going to have at least an email, a text, or a phone call from Grant or somebody on his team. Because he knows that when people feel well looked after and they feel pursued, they're going to feel important. And that's one of the best ways to build trust, is to be there and pursue. That's how I landed my husband. I just didn't leave. I was just there. So if I could do it with him, the same way could go with your company, right? And so what we want to do is make sure that we have our people feeling pursued, because it's actually scientifically proven that one of the deepest human desires is to feel important. And so if you can make somebody else feel important, they are 10 times more likely to give you the action that you're wanting. And that is why giving first, right? If anybody here has read The Go Giver, that's why that works. That's why you can be a successful business, by constantly just giving, free. Because when you make the other person feel important, they want to respect your honor, and they want to give back to you as well. And so basically how we're going to do this is technology nowadays, because there's so much communication, right? There's a lot of touch points that need to happen organically, and there's still interaction that needs to be face-to-face, and there's still all those things. But you need to utilize technology, because your competitors are as well. And in order to make sure that your customer's coming to you, because we all know that we offer the best, right? Even though our friends are our competitors, we offer the best. We have to be known, we have to be liked, we have to be trusted. And in order to hit those pillars, we have to have constant communication. And that level of communication, like Grant and all those guys do, it might seem daunting, but when you have the right tools and the right systems and processes in place, even the solopreneur can accomplish this. Because I can promise you that we don't keep up with this on our own. It's because we utilize technology and automations, and we do it in a human way where it's still us that is that touch point. That's how we're able to keep up with everything so well. And so Proverbs 14:23 says, in all toil there's profit, but mere talk tends only to poverty. And so there's a lot of entrepreneurs that struggle and say, well, I have a spreadsheet that's working. Is it? Are you growing as fast as you want to grow? Or is it just kind of plateauing? Do you constantly feel like you're running behind, or your task list is too high? Are the sticky notes piling up on your desk or on your whiteboard? Because if those things are happening, then you're living on the back end of Proverbs 14:23. You're living in the mere talk. And so you've got to get into the action. And if you can't handle all the action, it's not a failure of your own, it's a lack of technology that you're using. And using technology doesn't mean that you're less human of a company, doesn't mean that you care any less. In fact, I would argue that you using the right technology means that you care more, because you're not going to drop the ball. So if you would like to know, like, and trust Dallowry and some of the things that we do, you can join our mailing list. Outside of that, if you guys have any questions, we would love to answer them, but that's all I have.